Hello, hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is your girl Mitzi, and this is Mitzi. Let's think about it. Today we are thinking about Christmas is forgiveness. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, how Christmas is forgiveness. What a correlation that we are going to be thinking about today. And we have Brownell who's going to come back on the show so that we can think about this. Yes, she brought this up so that we can continue on thinking. And I love this topic because hey, why not correlate it together? Why not really think about this? So, Burnell, thank you so much for coming back on my show and just returning with your perspective and your time. I truly appreciate it because I enjoyed it the first time around.
Me
So,
too.
having you coming back again is a no brainer. So, let's go ahead and dive in. What does the phrase Christmas is forgiveness, what does that make you think about?
Well, I'll tell you kind of the how it kind of came to be, if you
Okay.
will.
Yeah.
A few years ago, I that title came to me, and I just thought, okay, that's a title for something. I didn't know what at the time, but I thought, it's just it, like you said, it just kind of flows. It's the perfect, message at the perfect time of year. And I thought, is it a song? Is it a Hallmark movie? Like, what am I going to do with this title?
Mm.
And so it was floating out there, and then, as you know, I was been writing this story about this crazy story that is guided from this team upstairs. That's kind of semi-autobiographical, and that story is called "The End: A Love Story to the Universe." Right, and
Mm.
so it's called "The End." All of a sudden, the team upstairs is telling me there's a part two to the story.
Dun, dun.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay, what is that? Because it's,
Yeah.
a love story, et cetera, et cetera. And by
Mhm.
the way, the story's free to anybody who wants to read it. So, just don't want to feel like you're being teased and then you don't get to read it.
Right?
And so I'm like, okay, I want to do a part two. I love this title. I had just done a couple of months ago, done a forgiveness meditation that I also offer free.
Okay.
And it's a whole different spin on the whole concept of forgiveness. And I had written in my first book, I wrote a whole chapter on forgiveness because I felt like it's such an important chapter. And that book is about the 5 reasons why bad things happen. So forgiveness is an important element to dealing with bad things. And yet, as this concept of Christmas as forgiveness is coming to fruition in my mind and being guided, right? They're telling me, okay, this is what we want you to do. We want you to tie all of this together. And so I just started writing this story. I wrote the lyrics to a song. So if you want to send me wishes, maybe next year's Christmas albums will have it on there. We'll never know. Maybe somebody will pick it up. Um, and if you think about the whole terminology, right? Christmas is forgiveness. There's a double entendre, right? It's forgiveness, right? We think about it. In fact, the first line to the first verse is Christmas is forgiving. Christmas is
Mhm.
for grace. Christmas is for packages all tied up with lace, right?
Yeah.
So you're kind of like, okay, that sounds like a typical Christmas song. But then the chorus is Christmas is forgiveness, Christmas is for friends, and it's up to each of us how our story ends.
It's true. It is up to each of us because we have the choice to forgive. We have the choice to let go. We have the choice to make a change, make a difference. You know what I mean? And Christmas is so many things. Ask anybody and they'll tell you so many different reasons or so many different what means for them and it's all subjective but for me I love Christmas. I love the holidays. Oh my goodness. I love this is my favorite holiday is Christmas because it's 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 about just letting it go and just being all together again, you know what I mean? And it's not
That's
about
right.
the presents, it's just about that unity, you know what I mean? Even if it's for, like, an hour, you know what, I'm gonna bask in this hour and just embrace it because in our normal day-to-day lives, we're not together, you know what I mean? We're not always together, we're not always around, or there's miscommunication, misunderstanding, misconceptions, and it gets troublesome because during the year, you lose some type of hope or you lose or you get distracted and it causes you to wonder, like, "Where is my place in my family?" or "Where is my place in my community?" or "Where is my place?" And it's like, Christmas comes back to remind everybody, like, "You're right here. It's okay.
Oh,
Just
that's
do
so
your
cute.
part." You know what I mean? That's how I see it. I mean, for I know we got the grasp of the whole concept, but let's break it down some more. Like, what does Christmas mean to you? What does it represent in your eyes?
Well, for me, and as I'm writing the lyrics to the song, a lot of it also is the end of the year, right? So
Yeah,
we've
that's
got a kind of a
true.
new beginnings angle to it
Yeah,
too. And
I like
what
that.
I'm hoping with the song and the story and everything else is that, no matter what your religion is, or you can be non-religious, if you can equate, like you said, equate the concepts of Christmas and forgiveness together, because a lot of people have kind of a different experience than you're talking about, right? A lot of people
You're
have
absolutely right.
conflict in families and have unresolved issues, and
Mhm.
all these things that they're still dealing with family or
Absolutely.
friends or loneliness or
Yeah.
whatever. And when I was creating this meditation, a lot of people have a lot of problems with forgiveness as a concept in general, right?
Yes. Yes.
And as I'm writing this meditation, I was going through a personal experience where I was still dealing with kind of a physical issue that had been for decades,
Okay.
and and it was related to a particular person. And so I'm sitting there and I'm kind of creating this meditation that, okay, I'm going to forgive this person. I don't know if they're still alive. I don't know what happened to this person, but I'm going to send them forgiveness. And just as an energy thing, right? No kind of attachments to it, but just as energy. And then the next kind of level I go to is hurt people hurt people. So whoever
Yeah.
hurt me was hurt by somebody before me,
Exactly.
right? So then you forgive the people who hurt them,
Yes.
right?
Yes. That's
And so if
and
you
that's
can go, wait a minute, there's a whole group of people that hurt them. So that's whether they're family or whether there's, somebody they didn't even know, whatever, there's some hurt. And then you kind of go into yourself and go, okay, I think I need to forgive myself too,
yeah.
right?
Exactly.
For putting myself in the position to allowing this to happen, whether it's conscious, subconscious, super consciously. Um, and then you kind of go to your own ancestry and you look at your own issues and who else affected you. And it's like by the time the meditation's over with, you've got a room full of people that are all being forgiven. And as I said, it's an energy thing. It's not I'm going to let you back in my life and give you another chance. That's a whole nother kind of level of forgiveness.
Yeah, that's a whole nother section that nobody wants to go. You know what I mean? You're lucky I'm getting to forgiveness. Don't force me to create a relationship with somebody that I just forgave. You know what I mean? They're lucky they got forgiven. Okay, it's for my well being they got forgiven.
Right.
So
Well, and I
I
think I feel it too. I mean, I think that's an energy thing. I think it can lift
yeah,
that stuff from
absolutely.
them too. Yeah.
Absolutely, because sometimes what's the best type of forgiveness is the ones that somebody doesn't even know that they're being forgiven. You know what I mean? Because it's so much weight is being lifted off of yourself that you don't, like you said before, I don't know if this person's dead. I don't know if they're even breathing or kicking anymore. Who knows where they could be in a cave somewhere struggling. I don't know. But you know what? I'm gonna forgive you. But you know what I realized? I realized that understanding gives people two things. It gives people either compassion or resentment, and that's a choice.
Wow.
You can choose between which direction you want to go to because I met a lot of people who gain understanding in that concept of you got to recognize the generations and the generations before and what was implemented in their minds and how they perceived life and how they're acting in life. And just because they can't evolve with our time doesn't mean they're wrong, just means that that's who they are. So if you have that understanding, you can be like, okay, well, I have the compassion to deal with them now and to have my way, work my way around them. You know what I mean? That's the type of compassion that people want. But people don't get there sometimes. They get resentful. You know what I mean? They're like, well, they need to change. They need to evolve. They need to do this. They need to blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, or you can just have the understanding and switch it to compassion because some people are who they are, but when we are meant to love as is, then who are you to now change your dynamics to determine if you want to love that person? You know what I mean? You can't love that person on your conditions. No, it doesn't work like that. There's because then people would love you on their conditions and you wouldn't want that either. You know what I mean? So it's like we have to really forgive our energy because I had somebody on my show that we spoke about forgiveness, and she was like, "Sometimes you even you have to forgive the space because we can have resentment towards an object or towards an area or a community or just something grander than what it is because of something so small you forgot to let out and speak out or just acknowledge that it was festering you. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
somebody, for instance, if they were raped and they see like an image of something that was in the room that was there, and then later on they see it, then they're like affected, they PTSD, and they don't know where it's coming from. It's because you didn't acknowledge that. You didn't forgive that object either. You didn't forgive the situation. You didn't forgive. It's like a 360. When you go back,
Wow.
you have to acknowledge everything that's there in forgiveness, because when you're in a different place in a different time of your life, it's gonna come back and you're gonna be in shock. So it's just like it's a crazy thing to think about how forgiveness is so much needed in our lives because we need it for ourselves, because we are each individual, as they are a victim, they are also a victor. You know what I mean? They can also be someone's tormentor. You know what I mean? They can also be somebody's toxic individual in their lives. So if we can recognize out that we have toxic traits as well to somebody out there, then we need to remember that as well. There has to be some balance. And there's not balance I've noticed in this world. What is your opinions on that?
I totally agree with that. And I also think, if you hold in that resentment,
Yeah.
it can cause all kinds of physical issues. Like,
Yes.
and so, I was doing some talking with somebody about healing not long ago, and they had like very strong resentment about what caused their illness. And I was like, you're gonna have to give up the victim thing. And they didn't
Yeah.
want to. Like, they didn't want to. There's so much energy tied up into the victimhood. But if you hold it in, you're either going to hurt yourself physically, either you're going to have shame, right? Because as you
Mhm.
said, and as we said, you're there also. And so what was it about you? And are you going to blame yourself? And when you
Yeah.
just look at it as an energy, and you can let it go
Yeah.
and say, you know what? I mean, there's no attachment to this person that hurt me. I just know
Mm.
I felt lighter. I mean, I even said to a friend, I think you could lose weight this way, like in a
Yeah.
metaphysical and a physical way, maybe.
Yes.
It's the weight of not forgiving that can hold you down. And it's really, really powerful. And so if you can tie it to a holiday and tie it to, again, the meditation is free for anybody, because it only takes 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It's not like it has to take forever. It's not like you have to be willing to give up your firstborn child to do this. It's just an energy thing. And as I said,
Exactly.
when you realize they were hurt,
Mm.
then all of a sudden you can have compassion, and that's really a big part of forgiveness.
It really is, because it brings back the unity, it brings that relatability, it brings it back to realize, like, you know what? You're just a person. You're just a human being living through life, and you got hurt too. I got hurt. We both got hurt. We both done some things we shouldn't have done. We both made our mistakes. Let's go ahead and just let it go and just move forward in a better light. You know what I mean? And just be communicate. I think that's another key, communicating, having that open dialogue, being able to have that critical thinking while somebody's talking and being active listening and not just having the selective words and try to figure it out. Like, and also not being offended all the time and defensive, like with your walls up. Like, we have to have this awareness when we communicate with people, because it comes down to forgiveness. I like earlier you said how when you have this resentment, it can hold into you and start hurting inside you. I've literally spoke to people who have talked about how our emotions affect certain parts of our organs inside our body. So if we are allowing anger and hatred and resentment to be in there for so long, why do you think people die with a heart attack at 32 for no reason, at 42 for no reason, still so young, still
Yeah.
so you would have never a stroke at 48. It's not about the food always. It's not always about the food.
Right.
Sometimes it's about what's going on in your mind, in your heart. What is your heart telling you? And people don't realize, like, our heart is so sensitive, and what's in our heart leaks out in such a way that we don't even realize it's there until they are already out, and then it's like, "Ooh." Like, I've done that before. It was like, I didn't know I needed healing until something leaked out, and I was just like, "Oh, Mitzi, we need to work on this."
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's, and it's not just, like we're talking about, well, this person might not still be here, but I really think that forgiveness is kind of transcends the dimensions
Yeah.
and that you can forgive somebody who's no longer here, no longer on the
Mhm.
planet. And they're still, I don't know if you've read, like Betty Eadie wrote a book many years ago about prayer and how prayer affects people on the other side. And that there's like an energy and of course it helps us as we're doing it because we can start forgiving ourselves in the process and that self-love, right? Because if
Yeah.
forgiveness is an act of self-love,
It
really,
is. It
you
is, and I
know?
think more people realize, like, if you're trying to figure out a type of self-care, there you go. You know what I mean? There you
First step,
go.
right,
Just start with the little things, and one thing that I remember somebody telling me is, like, start forgiving the little things, and then once you start forgiving the little things, eventually you'll work your way up to the bigger things, the scary things, the ones that are in your closet, the ones that are under your bed, the ones that are in that lockbox that you think nobody's gonna have access to. Those are the things that need true forgiveness as well, and you can work your way there, just start with the small things. And I'm looking at the time and it's catching up to us. We're gonna have to figure out another excuse to bring you back on the show.
well,
Oh
what
my
I'm
goodness.
saying.
What
Yeah, I'm
can what can be some lasting words to keep us thinking so that we can wrap up the show?
Well, as I said, this is all tied to a story that I wrote.
Yeah.
So I want everybody to read the story because if you read part one, you'll start seeing stuff, and then you'll see kind of a personal example of how forgiveness is tied into and this Christmas's forgiveness message. So that, and then as I said, I've got a free forgiveness meditation. Anybody wants it, and I did launch my novels. So if they want to find my We Meet Again trilogy, it's a reincarnation epic mystery love story thing and and just the more if we can tie those words together, Christmas is forgiveness, then if we can make that word association, I think we can change the world. I
Yeah,
really do.
absolutely, absolutely, and it all started with your thought. You took it into action, put it into a book, you put it into a song, you made it a way so that people can resonate it to the generations to come, and that's the goal. When you're long gone and dead, you'll have something to truly leave your legacy is reminding people how Christmas is forgiveness, and that is a beautiful thing. And ladies and gentlemen, if you want to know more about Brownell and all the beautiful things that she has to offer the world because why not, right? Go check
Right.
her out. I have her website on mine so that you can click right there under her photo so that you can continue on thinking. And if you have not already watched our episode, Let's Think About Reincarnation, go check it out because my goodness, it was such a great conversation. Goodness, was it great. So, with that being said, bye.